What's up, y'all? Welcome to another Dope Life podcast, the dopest podcast ever. And of course, your host, Coach AJ, Dope Life Coach, the dopest life coach ever. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another episode. And if you could be also lovely, leave us a rating and a review. We would greatly appreciate it so our podcast can get out to dope individuals just like yourselves. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the first episode of February 1st. Check out the new setup. I shout out to Dollarama. Maybe I'll do a video on how I decided to switch things up and make it more habitable for y'all too. Because I feel like whenever I do an episode, I'm not just welcoming you into the Dope Life podcast, but I'm also welcoming you into my world. Because the things that I give to you, the tips, the things I've learned, the stuff that benefit me and the stuff that straight up have not benefited me the most, you're entering into my world as well. So I'm happy to see you guys come back, and I'm happy to have you here in the new month of February. So let's waste no time and let's get right into it. We're talking about people pleasing, but we're also talking about it in the context of without losing opportunities, friends, acquaintances, connections along the way, but also honoring ourselves. So I want to paint the scene for you. All right. Let's say it's a Tuesday and one of your peoples call you up and say, hey, yo, I'm moving. I really need your help to help me move. So without even thinking about all the stuff you got going on, you agree and you accept it. You say, yeah, I got you, right? Which normally a lot of us would do. No questions asked. But if you ever felt trapped in your own niceness, this episode is specifically for you. Sometimes we continuously say yes when we just want to say no, but we feel guilty for some reason for saying no. We're going to break that down into how to kind of overcome that guilt a bit. Also kind of how to identify it, because that's the most part. I'm going to give you a playbook on how to stop people pleasing without feeling any sense of guilt, without becoming selfish, without becoming cold, or without losing the relationships that matter the most to you. So let's start off with the people pleasing trap. How has it become so norm to us? It's become a simple, normal step that we do without even thinking. Well, I hate to tell y'all, but it stems from our childhood. Sometimes we think approval equals safety or love. So by us doing what our parents or our elders wanted us to do, it meant that they approve us. It means that it's conditioned with love. So we grow up as adults thinking we have to do the exact same thing. So a lot of us will say yes when we really want to say no. There's probably times when you wanted to say no as a child, but you knew what the results and the reaction would have been from that. So now we're conditioned to continuously say yes to almost everything. And it doesn't just show up in the relationships with your parents, it does, but also shows up in relationships with you at work, relationships that you have personally, connections and friendships. It's all about. That's where that people pleasing aspect comes in. But don't feel bad, because one thing I love about being an adult, we can learn the things that we have learned in the past and growing up as from children, teenagers into adulthood, but we can also unlearn them. This is the exciting part of life, when we recognize that this ain't working for us no more, and we can unlearn the things that no longer serve us. In the midst of people pleasing, we also have a fear of disappointing others, because again, we have been conditioned to think that if we say no, the first thing is, okay, what's the reaction going to be? What is the conflict that's going to come from this? How is that conflict going to make me feel? And 9 times out of 10, it's all avoidance. We avoid saying no. When we really, really, really want to say no, we say yes, just to avoid what the person's reaction is going to be. But I always often think about it. You could go ahead and avoid it all you want, but then you're left feeling like, man, I really wish I said no, or I really wish I created a boundary in that midst of that time. And in the long run, they're all happy and still living, right? So it's sometimes we have to take a step back and understand that, again, it's not your fault. You've been conditioned to think that, but the conflict aspect is a part of life. It's okay to have conflict sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have moments of agree to disagree. Another aspect of it is we believe that our worth comes from being helpful. Some people have like a dopamine high of being that helpful individual. No, don't get me wrong. Being helpful is good. It's needed. I love being a helpful human being. At the same time, I also have to remind myself and check myself. Hey, yo, girly, we need to rest too. We need to put ourselves first. There's stuff that you want to do that you got to get done. At the end of the day, what happens when we don't put ourselves first? That leads to burnout. That leads to stress. That leads to overload. That leads to fatigue. That leads to resentment. And then the same thing that you want to do from a sense of love and a sense of caring turns into like a cold block of ice because you don't want to do it in the first place. But here's the paradox that nobody ever talks about. This is the part that a lot of people don't really discuss. And I'm going to say it's rampant if you were a child of an immigrant. It is rampant. People pleasers are often not respected. They are more overtaken for granted than shown any respect. My father always said, if you are doing something for somebody and you continuously say yes, make you say no one time. Say no one time, and they would forget about all those times that you said yes. It's like poof, it's epiphany. It never happened. All of a sudden, your yes meant nothing just because you said no. Ain't it crazy how that works sometimes? The entire time you've been saying yes, 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 I got you, I got you. The one time you're like, honestly, I can't do it. Ooh, they blow up in your face. You may lose people from that. And I want to preference by saying this to you. If you finally start to say, no, unfortunately, I can't do it. Unfortunately, I don't have it. And they get all up in arms over it. If you even start saying, hey, this is a boundary I'm setting, and they get all up in arms over it, yo, were they really loving you for you the entire time? Were they really respecting you the entire time? Were they really down for you the entire time? The true people who care for you, who love for you, and would understand, all right, yo, I get it, no problem. I'll ask somebody else, no big deal. They would respect you enough to say, all right, don't worry about it. Thank you though, but don't worry about it. Right? I just don't have it this time. All right, I hear you. You know, cool. Those people right there, those are the ones who love you. Those are the ones who care for you. Right? The moment that you say no and they just willing to throw out everything, you got to really question yourself. Yo, were those yeses even worth it? It will even like remap your brain to say, man, I gotta start being a lot more conscious of how I'm saying yes. Because the one time I said, yo, I don't got it, or the one time I said, no, I can't pull it, all of a sudden, I ain't nothing. I ain't shit. Crazy how sometimes that works out. Because I want you to think about this. And it's odd to even word this, but your yes loses value when you never say no. Sometimes you gotta say no. You have to say no. Because if you keep saying yes, they're just gonna expect. And this is the people pleasing. You're also conditioning yourself to say, like, I have to say yes. I have to say yes. You see, the thing is, and I may talk about this in my next episode, but we say we got issues with consistency. I work with clients and say, yo, coach, I got a problem with consistency. And I'm like, no, you don't. No human being has issues with consistency. There's no way. Because a lot of us are consistent with bullshit. And we're aware of that. We are so aware. I've done it. I'm human. I've been consistent with bullshit myself. But the moment that you catch it and you say, yo, this is not how it works. This is not how I should be moving. That's where it steps back into, is consistency really my problem, or is it me making the decisions is the issue? Is that the main issue right here? Is discipline really my issue? Well, no, not really. I mean, like, consistent discipline work one-on-one. You've been disciplined before. It's just the habits and the values that you're carrying right now don't work with something like discipline. So you don't be so hard on yourself in that. You just got to cut the fat and figure out what it is that you're saying yes to all the damn time when you really should be saying, no, I don't want to do that. And yeah, don't get me wrong. There's going to be moments where you got to do what you got to do. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But when you are in control of the decisions that you can make that are going to benefit you and put you first, and not a sense of cold and selfishness, you're going to rethink it just a tad bit. You're going to rethink the decisions that you make. It alters your brain in such a way where, especially when a person shows you their true colors, it makes you say, like, boy, I thought we were peoples. I've been saying yes to you for so long. I've been there for you. Especially when you need that. When you need that yes, all of a sudden they ain't got nothing to give to you. It will change your brainwave of how you are as a people pleaser. Mark my words on that. If you're trying to question yourself if you are a people pleaser, I want you to ask yourself these few questions. And you could write this down and you could journal it out later. You don't got to answer it right now, or you could save this episode and simply come back and rewatch it. Remember, my episodes are tools. They're there for you. You could always come back and gain whatever it is that you need from it. Now, the first question I want you to ask yourself, do you say yes and immediately regret it? Do you say yes and you question, like, damn, why did I really say yes? I kind of wanted to say no. The second one, do you ever feel responsible for other people's emotions? Which obviously, and you got no business to be feeling that way in any way, shape, or form. Because you should be responsible for your own, not others. And the last one is, do you ever over-explain or apologize for setting boundaries? Yeah, I'm talking to you because I know some of y'all probably do that, especially in the beginning. Again, don't feel hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace. You're doing the best you can. You're learning. You're unlearning. Think about the time when you were just a baby. You just got up and started walking, or you would fall and you would walk and you would fall. It's just the same step. We forget sometimes that we have the practices already inside of us of how to get up and keep going, and unlearn. Failure, I don't want you to ever think that this is a failure situation, because this is feedback. If your body is telling you, man, I really wish I said no, that is feedback that your mind and your body's telling you that you should have said no. And maybe you got to start using no more often in certain scenarios. Maybe it's scenarios dealing with that certain individual. Maybe it's a certain that environment. Maybe you need to start creating the boundaries without feeling guilty for doing so. At the end of the day, boundaries are generous. Okay. Saying no, it doesn't need to be hard and cold, right? But it can improve your quality of your yeses. When you start saying no, you're not saying no in a place of hate or hardness, right? Or selfishness or coldness. You're saying no so that you can give a quality yes, a yes from love, a yes from understanding, a yes from a place of care, right? And compassion. Because if you keep saying yes to everything else, right? We constantly say our plate is so full. And sometimes our plate is full because we've been saying yes to so much stuff, to the point now where we're just pushing out product in a sense. And like now we're just giving a mediocre follow through because we just want to get it all done. We've said yes, so we just want to cross it off of our to-do list. I remember one time I said yes to something, and I remember looking back halfway, like leading up to it, I really did not want to do it. When I mean I really did not want to do it, I really did not want to do it. I was dreading it the entire week. I was like, I know I got to do it, so I'll do it. So I wasn't even putting through the quality of work that I would typically do, because this is something I straight up did not want to be a part of. But I said yes to help somebody else out. So I want you to think about that. How many times have you said yes to something and then you like regret it immediately, and then leading up to it, you're like, man, I really don't want to do this. I should just cancel on them. But you follow through with it because of who you are. But at the same damn time, the follow through is so shitty and not like you and not the quality that you put out. I want you to think about that the next time that you continuously say yes to something that you want to say no to. You feel me? And I know you're probably gonna say, well, you're a coach, you gotta push yourself 1000%. There's gonna be some situations, and you will know what those situations are, where you just gotta follow through and you gotta do what you gotta do. But when it's away from your values and who you're trying to become and who you're destined to become and who you're trying to align with, because that is who you are, then it's a different feel. It's a completely different feeling. And you'll know it because you will feel it. And in that moment when I gave the mediocre work, and I knew it wasn't that great because I was dreading it the entire time. I was more afraid of the person's reaction of me not wanting to do it, to the point where I went against who I am and what I stand for. But the thing that I've learned is people need to be disappointed sometimes. And it's okay if you're disappointed as human beings. It's cool. That is not your sign, nor is that your emergency for you to step in and fix their emotions and correct it and soften the blow. Sometimes it's okay for them to hear a no. Because at the end of the day, your job is to communicate clearly what it is that you are saying, how you feel. If it's a no, if it's a yes with, or a no with conditions. And their job is to figure out how their response is going to be. That is not your job. And even in the midst of all of that, when you actually sometimes say no, you're earning their respect, because people who respect themselves attract respect from other people and environments. And people who set boundaries, let's think about it this way. People who set boundaries, you know not to mess with them, because you know who they are. They know what their self-worth is. They know what they value. So by you saying no and no longer people pleasing, in the same time, in the same breath, they know not to fuck with you. Plain and simple. And oftentimes people who get mad from your boundaries, from you saying no, there's two things I've learned from that. Number one, they probably ain't got no boundaries. They probably don't have any. Number two, they don't say no. So you've shaken up their entire world by you doing the very thing that they've longed to do. Of course you're going to get pushback. Of course you're going to get upset. Of course you're going to get emotions from them. But at the end of the day, that is not your problem. That's something that they need to figure out. That's something that they need to regulate. You could be kind, you could be loving, you could be caring, but you could also set limits. In fact, that's the only sustainable way to those things, by setting limits. All right, now that we got that all out the way, we're going to get into the playbook. So this is where I want you to take out a piece of paper, because I want you to start thinking about those moments you've said yes when you really wanted to say no, because we are exiting people pleasing. You understand me? So number one, we're going to talk about saying a clean no. This is when you don't elaborate. This is where you're no longer going to over-explain. And I'm going to give you an example of how you could do that. For example, someone asks you, hey, I was wondering if this would, can you do this? Yo, I appreciate you thinking about me, but unfortunately, I'm unable to, I'm not available to do that. clean no. Again, no over explaining. And even if they ask you why, just say, yo, unfortunately, I'm unable to do that. Repeat it. They ask again, well, I don't understand. Why can't you? Unfortunately, I'm unable to do that. I appreciate you thinking about me, but I'm unavailable. Clean no. Now let's talk about like a relationship that you're trying to preserve and you have to say no. Now, obviously, there's a different way of doing this. So I think when people think about people pleasing, they just say like, this is the only way it's gonna work. No, 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 no. You gotta sometimes have different forms of it, especially the ones that we have close and dear to our hearts. So it's a different sense of wording. How you could reword that is, I appreciate you, but unfortunately, I'm unavailable. Have you considered this? This gives them another option beyond yourself after you've said no, but it's a soft way of doing it. It's an acknowledging what it is and then declining it and then giving them an alternative. Acknowledge, decline, here's an option, here's an alternative. Kind of going back to like the scenario in the beginning when I said it's a Tuesday, someone's asking you to move, but you were dreading the whole situation. What I do personally is I give conditions with my yes or with my no. And typically, especially with moving, I will say, yo, I can help you for 3 hours. After that, I'm out. That's the best I can do. 9 times out of 10, people are like, man, I'll take it. This removes the guilt from me, but I'm still helping, which I like to do. But at the same time, I'm honoring and respecting my own boundary to say that I need to go do what I need to do. Even if it means I'm just going to sit on my couch and watch a whole bunch of true crime. That's my business because maybe it's my only off day that I have and I just really want to take care of me. It still allows you the balance between the two. Now, let's say, for example, somebody wants to invite you to something or a dinner, or a lot of people use this one, especially in like a networking subs. They'll say like, yo, let me check my calendar. I get back to you. And they never get back to you. I think that's disrespect. I think if you're actually going to say, let me check my calendar, let me get back to you, actually get back to the person and give them a date. The point of that line is to remove from an instant yes and to give you a little bit more time and to get into like, maybe I need to move some things around so I actually have enough time to meet with this person. It gives you a second to check in with yourself if it's even a meeting you want to have. Maybe you look at your schedule and say like, unfortunately, and email them back, yo, unfortunately at this time, I honestly don't have any time. Maybe we could check in the next quarter. It gives you that flexibility. Let's say you're having a reoccurring issue constantly boomeranging around you all the time. Let's talk about boundaries. Now, you want to have direct and calm communication with this one here. Emphasis on direct. Now, I'm going to give you a breakdown on how you can use this one. You're going to start off by saying, I care about you. That puts in the care aspect. And I need to be honest with you. That puts a little bit of the firm and assertiveness as well. I can't keep the behavior going forward. I'm able to boundary. Now think about the person who always asks, the friend maybe that who always asks you for money, the coworker who's always dumping on you. You could say that, yo, I'm out of capacity. Unfortunately, I can't take any of the dumping as of right now. Or the friend who's always asking you for money. As of right now, I can't continuously give you money because I need to take care of my own responsibilities. It still allows you to have care, assertiveness, or firm, and you set the boundary. Now, you're going to have people push back. This part is important because when you have pushback, you don't break. Expect it. It's going to happen no matter however you put it, slay it, it's going to happen. I want you to remember this acronym, JADE. Don't justify, don't argue, don't defend, and do not explain. You're going to find yourself being a broken record at first because, well, you're doing something that you probably haven't ever done before. You're saying no when you've consistently said yes. So be prepared to become a bit of a broken record. I'm going to give you a little bit of exercise this week. I want you to think of one situation where you need to set a boundary, a clear boundary this week, and write down a strategy that you will use. You can use the strategy that I gave you step by step, the examples that I provide you with, or if you came up with something throughout the episode that you think would work best for you in your scenario, by all means, give it a shot. Now, in the midst of you setting all that up, you're going to have people give you pushback. Like I said, it's going to happen a lot. So you may need to adjust every now and then. And just remember, the people who will fuck with you will respect you the most. But those who've been taking advantage of you, they'll reveal themselves real quick. Watch out for the green signs of people who respect you and no drama, understand where you're coming from. You find yourself having more energy along the way. You're able to communicate with them far more easier. The relationship gets a lot more stronger. The connection gets stronger between you and the others, and you don't feel overextended. Now, the red flags to kind of keep an eye out for is they'll try to guilt trip you. They'll only reach out when they really just need something from you. They're not checking in just to say, hey, what's up? How are you doing? It's only when they need something. And they're continuously refusing to respect your boundaries after clear communication of what you were setting. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, boundaries is all about long game. Saying no is all about the long game. Putting yourself first is all about the long game, especially if you've been saying yes and people pleasing for far so long. And at the end of the day, it won't push the good people away, the ones who are rocking with you. That's for sure. But it will identify the ones who've been taking advantage of you. All right, y'all. So that's all I got for you this week. So remember the challenge that I set for y'all, the exercise I gave you, which is just one situation where you have a boundary you've set and just pay attention and notice what happens between the connection and the relationship. Just one, not multiple, just one. Because at the end of the day, people pleasing is a habit. It's not your full identity. And every boundary that you set is you valuing yourself even more. And the goal is not to become cold and selfish, it's to become more authentic. I'll see y'all next week. And if you're new here again, don't forget to click that subscribe button. And if you're returning here again, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for rocking with me. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. Mark my words, we got this. Anyways, I'll see y'all next week, and y'all know what to do. Walk with peace, walk with love.